Jaya Vrinde, Jaya Vrinde, Jaya Vrinde, Jaya Vrinde. Gaura Premanandi.
They are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Yeah. Thank you. No, I'm fine. Jaya Radha Madhova Kunya Bihare Madhova Jaya Radha Madhova Kunya Bihare Madhava Kunya Bihare Gopi Janabalabha Girivarod Hati Janabalabha Girivarod Hati Gopi Maraba Girivarula Re Balaja Yasuranandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasunanana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachaude Yamunatera Vanachari Jaya Radho Madhura Kunya Bhikhavotri Jaya Madhura Kunya Bhikhavotri Mopi Janabanaba Yiribadhudhave Mopi Janabanaba Yiribadhudhave Yasodhanana Brajajanaram Jada Yasodhanana Brajajanaram Ranja Jamuna Tira Vanacharute Yamuna Tera Vanacharute Jaya Radho Madhura Kunya Bhikkhave Jaya Madhuva Kunya Bhikkhave Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravitakacharya also Tada Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Savaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shitwaita Galadha Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturalam Ki Jai Jagadada Sami Ki Jai Munamai Ki Jai Srimat Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premalanda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Budle Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachani Nivasesha Srinivadi Paschatadeshatari. So we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto 58th chapter, text 48. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Raja Patnyas Cha Duitu Krishnam Labdva Priyam Patim Libire Aparamanandam Jatash Cha Paramotsava Rajapatnyascha Duhitu Krishnam Labdva Priyam Patim Libire Paramanandam Jatascha Paramotsava Rajapatnyascha Duhitu Krishnam Labdva Priyam Patim Libire Paramanandam Jatascha Paramotsava Rajapatnyascha Duhitu Krishnam Labdva Priyam Patim Libire Paramanandam Jatascha Paramotsava. Okay. Ladies, Chapatnasya Duhitu Apanyam Patim Paramanandam Jatascha Paramotsava. Okay. Raja of the king, Patya, the wives, Cha, and Duhitu, of his daughter, Krishnam, Krishna, Labdva, obtaining, Priyam, dear, Patim, husband, Libire, they experienced, Parama, the greatest, Anandam, ecstasy, Jata, there arose, Cha, and Parama, the greatest, Utsava, festivity. Translation: the king's wives felt the greatest ecstasy upon attaining Lord Krishna as the dear husband of the royal princess, and a mood of great festivity arose. You can repeat. The king's wives felt the greatest ecstasy upon attaining Lord Krishna as the dear husband of the royal princess. And a mood of great festivity arose. So there's only one commentary, which is by Jiva Goswami, and no commentaries by the followers of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. So Jiva Goswami states that the king's wives felt the highest bliss when their daughter obtained her desired Priyam husband. Therefore, a huge festival took place. So I'm going to read the next few texts. This is explanatory, and it explains, actually, it's interesting, the wives, just a little interlude here, just like we see sometimes at the weddings, the women become, all chatty and blissful, like this. So here the wives are mentioned and not the other relatives, which is interesting, because the ladies really get into the marriages. And of course, in this particular case, this marriage is with Krishna. So it's not just mundane bliss like the ladies experience, which is sort of oh my God, sometimes a sublimation or projection of their own needs. But so, anyway, sorry, ladies. But it is actually spiritual bliss because they are seeing Krishna to get together with his eternal consort. So, anyway, we'll continue reading the text. Text 49. Shankha Beryana Kanedur Gita Vajja Dvijashisha Naranariya Pramodita Suvasashra Ganankuta. Conch shells, horns, and drums resounded, along with vocal and instrumental music and the sounds of brahmanas invoking blessings. The joyful men and women adorn themselves with fine clothing and garlands. So Jiva Goswami comments in this regard, and there's a short commentary here, because these are mostly explaining what happened rather than philosophy. The various sounds of conches, etc., helped produce the festivity mentioned in the previous verse. The instruments accompanied the singing with rhythm. Dancing was also present. This produced joy in the men and women who were wearing fine clothing, garlands, and ornaments such as earrings. Big festivity. So texts 50 to 51, they're combined, and I think this is what we'll speak about. Dashadenu sahasrani parivarham adadvipo yuvatinam tri sahasram nishkagriva suvasisam navanaga sahasrani nagaschata gunanratan rataschata gunan asvan asvaschata gunandatan. As the dowry, powerful King Dagnajit gave 10,000 cows, 3,000 young maidservants, wearing golden ornaments on their necks and bedecked in fine clothing, 9,000 elephants, 100 times as many chariots as elephants. Oh my God. That's like, 900,000. Anyway, that's quite a bit. 100 times as many horses as chariots. Oh my God, 90 million. And 100 times as many manservants as horses. Anyway, it's a lot. So, quite a bit. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, there were 100 times more chariots and elephants, and he actually says the same thing. Previously, those kings had been defeated by the bulls. Now they were defeated by the Yadus. And Jiva Goswami states here, the cows given had newly given birth to calves. He gave them with the calves. And actually, it's interesting. A cow that's not milking is sometimes called adenu. It's a cow, but somehow or other it's not giving milk. So giving milk is actually more auspicious if the cow is giving milk. The king was fully capable of giving Prabhu all these items. Cows are mentioned first because they were the best donation, or since cows were very pleasing to Krishna. The servant girls are mentioned before the elephants and chariots because of their superiority of service, etc. Successively, more elephants, chariots, horses, and foot soldiers were given. The number of maidservants was only a third of the number of elephants. Nishkas only are mentioned since this was their main ornament. But it is understood that maidservants also wore other ornaments. The singular nagat, ratat, and ashvat are used to indicate a class. Naran refers to servants and foot soldiers. Okay, I think we will comment a little bit about this. So, Om Ganat, Timirandasha Gananjana Shlakya Chakshur and Miditam. Yena Tasmai Shigadaveda Maha. So the three topics I'm going to talk about are dowries, maidservants, and let's see, the third one was cows. Okay. Very, very important. So these three things are stressed here. So let's talk about dowries. Like in the modern day, in India even, it's actually illegal to demand a dowry. The British actually passed laws like this. Although people do it, it's illegal to demand a dowry. The reason for that is that the dowry actually became something that was like something that the parents of the boy and the boy would make profit from. It became like a business exchange. That wasn't the original intention of the dowry. For those of you who don't know, the original intention of the dowry was actually the girl's security. Not that the boy would take it and buy himself a Tesla. Or as Prabhupada said, Prabhupada was talking about dowries one time, and he said, in regard to Lord Shiva's wife's dowry, Sati's dowry, and that dowry was quite opulent. It was actually a lot of jewels and everything like that, and it was given by Daksha, who was very much into opulence. And so Prabhupada said that Lord Shiva did not take that money and spend it on, does anyone remember what Prabhupada said? Ganja. Very interesting statement. Although Lord Shiva is sometimes associated with ganja, and Prabhupada said that if one can drink an ocean of poison and survive, then it's all right to smoke ganja. But by the time you drink the ocean of poison, or even a little bit of poison, you're dead, so there's no question of smoking ganja. So that was the intention. It was kept, and sometimes it was actually kept in the gold, usually as gold. That's why you see in India that there is so much stress on gold. I think India is one of the largest, if not the largest consumer of gold in the world. And even if you go into certain airports in India, they will actually search you to see if you have gold on you. Isn't it true? Especially in South India, like Bangalore and places like that. North India, I haven't experienced that. They never search me for gold. But it's because there's a lot of money to be made with gold because of the dowry system and everything like that, and because of the gold jewelry. Lady would keep her, sometimes Prabhupada said that the threads on the saris would be made of gold. And that's how the wealth would be kept. Or in the jewelry. And in India, boy, so much information is coming to mind. All the dacoits understand that. And they actually know where the ladies keep their jewelry. Is it true? And they go into the house. And even in America, the robbers know to target Indian houses. And they know exactly where, I'll tell you where the ladies keep the jewelry. They keep it like underneath the dresser. Like, not in the drawers themselves, but you open up the drawers and you put it underneath the drawers. And then the robbers know that. And so you find, like in Cary or something like that, there's quite a few robbers who break into the houses. They wait because they know about their lady's dowry. Anyway, so this dowry system is an important system. It's not simply something from the past that should be eliminated. Although it shouldn't be demanded. There's an interesting story Prabhupada tells. I have it here. This is actually from the Chaitanya Bhagavat Adi Kanda about a devotee who didn't have any money for dowry, and yet the marriage still took place. So in other words, if someone has it, and the point is if they have it, that means the girl's accustomed to living at that particular standard. And if they don't have it, the girl's not accustomed, so it's not really that important. So the point is the girl's living standard. So here's the point. This was that an advertisement or an agreement or something? So anyway, so those who have daughters, sometimes having a daughter is considered, oh my God, what am I going to do? I have to come up with a dowry. Not only you have to come up with a dowry, but you have to pay for the marriage. And sometimes we see people who get their daughter married in India, and even though they're quite old and ready to retire, they go into debt and they have to pay for the next 20 years. Not only the dowry, but so therefore, this dowry system, because it's an obligation to certain cultures in India, has actually caused a lot of distress with people. A lot of financial distress, and also the whole idea of showing off a big marriage just to impress the relatives and paying for all the relatives to fly in from around the world. Isn't that true? You can spend like hundreds of thousands of dollars, or in case of Ambani, tens of millions of dollars, because there's the whole idea of impressing people and your daughter's dowry. I mean, anyway, it shouldn't be an obligation. It should only be when the person can actually afford it without having to jump through hoops and actually destroy their whole life for the next 20 years. It's a really important consideration. So anyway, that's why it was declared. And then, okay, another thing about dowry before I read this story. The reason the British declared it illegal is that sometimes there were ladies, right in the marriage, the boy's family would demand a greater dowry, and when the boy's family's dowry's demand was not met, they would refuse to have the girl married, and therefore, because of that, the girl's reputation was finished, and because of that, the girl would commit suicide. Or they would sometimes even throw the girl into the fire. So there was a reason the British declared it illegal. Although it's not a bad system, Prabhupada didn't decry it, and Prabhupada, actually some statements from Prabhupada, anyway, so I have many statements which I don't have time to read right now. But Prabhupada is saying, it's a good system if applied properly under the guidance of Brahmins. Okay, so here's a story from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. This is Vallabhacharya, the father of Lakshmi Priya. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's first wife, who after some time passed away feeling separation from Lord Chaitanya. So Ballavacharya, this is a quote, joyfully replied when he was presented by the marriage broker the proposal that Lord Chaitanya could marry Lakshmi Priya, his daughter. Such a husband for my daughter is achieved by great fortune. If Krishna is pleased with me, and Lakshmi and Parvati are pleased with my daughter, then I will be blessed with such a husband for my daughter. You may arrange everything without delay. But I have one request that I am embarrassed to disclose. I am poor and have no means to offer a dowry. I can only offer 5 haritaki, that's Myro bottom, fruits along with my daughter. Please beg their consent. So in other words, there has to be something offered, even as a token. That's the point. Whatever you can offer, practically, that's really the point being made here in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Hearing the words of Ballabhacharya or Ballabhamitra, this is not the same Ballabhacharya who's the head of the Sampradaya, Vanamali Acharya, who is the marriage broker, happily completed all the formalities. So, welcome. So, therefore, we can understand from this, the context of this particular story is that dowries were given according to a person's needs. And they were important. So, second thing we mentioned, we were going to talk about, actually the third thing, about the cows. Second thing was about the women. So, trying to avoid that one. So, like here in the commentaries by the Acharyas, it mentions that the cows are mentioned before the women. In other words, they're considered a more important gift than the women. Not to decry you ladies or to criticize you ladies, but the cow is so important in the Vedic culture, and there's several statements I'm going to read from Srila Prabhupada in this regard. Lord Krishna, in other words, Krishna is actually even known according to the cows. Govinda, his name, according to the cows. Krishna's planet is what? Goloka. Even his favorite spot of pastimes, Govardhan. So many things are named after the cows. And of course, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanataya Cha Jagadataya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. And of course, this is brought out in a quote from Srila Prabhupada from one of his purports. Lord Krishna as Govinda is more inclined to the Brahmins and the cows, indicating that human prosperity depends more on these two items, namely Brahminical culture and cow protection. Now, of course, I could say something that you could say we're not doing cow protection, but many of us, if we're consuming milk products, we may be doing the opposite unless we're buying from a Himsa location. So we have to understand, if you can't directly do cow protection, of course, then you can give a donation for cow protection. You can encourage cow protection. You can preach about cow protection. But at least you shouldn't do something that is counter for cow protection or counteracts cow protection, the exploitation of cows. I'm not going to get into the details. I'm not going to, even though I'd like to. Prabhupada said, Lord Krishna is never satisfied where these are lacking, cow protection, Brahminical protection, and culture. Just one more quote from Prabhupada. A society devoid of cow protection and Brahminical culture is not under the direct protection of the Lord. Just as the prisoners in the jail are not under the direct protection of the king, but under the protection of a severe agent of a king. So just by the fact that someone is not protecting the cows or exploiting the cows, then you're immediately put under the protection of Durga. Actually, not protection, direction, punishment. But Prabhupada actually used the word protection here. Protection of a severe agent of the king. That's interesting. Without cow protection and cultivation of Brahminical qualities in human society, at least for a section of the members of society, no human civilization can prosper at any length. And of course, Prabhupada would oftentimes attribute the wars and pestilence and even things, nowadays, if Prabhupada was physically with us, he would probably attribute global warming, which is actually directly attributable to cow slaughter. You may think, well, it's attributable to driving too many cars or airplanes and things like that. Well, if you analyze scientifically, even scientifically, that most of global warming is due to either cow slaughter directly or indirectly. Indirectly, I mean things like cutting down thousands of acres every day in the Amazon forest to provide grazing land for cows that are going to be slaughtered and used by McDonald's and other places like that. So even that's indirect, but it actually has a major effect because the vegetation in the Amazon jungle acts as what we call a carbon dioxide, not even a sink, it converts carbon dioxide to oxygen, the trees there. And once they're cut down, they'll take eons to grow back. So most of the land that's used for, quote, agriculture in the world is used for growing things, either growing things to feed the cows so the cows can be slaughtered, or other animals can be slaughtered, or at least grazing land for the cows. So even indirectly, it's like that. Just one more quote from Prabhupada, which I found quite interesting. The state or home where wealth and strength are not engaged in the advancement of Brahminical culture, God consciousness, and cow protection are surely doomed by providence. Doomed. Doom means there's no hope. Okay. These are Bhagavatam purports. I'm not giving the... And here in Teachings of Queen Kunti, Prabhupada says, because the cow is the most important animal, there's no injunction that one should not eat the flesh of tigers or other such animals. While living, the cows give... I'm skipping over a little. The cows give important service by giving milk, and even after death, they give service by making available their skin, hooves, and horns, which may be used in various ways. Nevertheless, the present human society is so ungrateful that they needlessly kill these innocent cows. Therefore, Krishna comes to punish them. So Krishna is coming either through directly or through his material energy and punishing these living entities. And finally, I want to talk about the maidservants, because we often hear that many girls, maidservants means girls, or associates of the princess, are given, and there's quite a few. And you're thinking, is this slavery? Are these girls actually enslaved and forced to go? And what is their future like? What a miserable life just being a maidservant your whole life. Well, it's not exactly that bad. First of all, they're friends of the queen or of the princess, and they have a friendly relationship. Secondly, it's not that their life is completely miserable. Either they have a relationship with the king later on, and they give birth to children, and that we see that, of course, Even in the Mahabharata, we have Dhritarashtra, and Vidura, of course, who was born as the son of a maidservant. So there were maidservants there. Or they're allowed to get married to other people, but they continue to associate with the queen, and they enjoy, Prabhupada said, royal opulence along with the person they're serving. It's not that they sit on the throne or anything like that, but they actually enjoy, the food and everything like that because they're friends. Very important point. And they are independent. They're not slaves. So why so many? That's another point. Another point Prabhupada makes that in Vedic culture, there were very few marriageable men, at least of the higher classes. The reason for that, as Prabhupada explains very nicely, that originally many, many more girls were born than boys. Nowadays in India, because of this dowry system and the cost of the marriage and everything like that, they have abortions. Unfortunately, they even have ultrasound trucks that go to the different villages so that people could see whether the lady's going to give birth to a boy or a girl. And then they decide, even though it's illegal, still it's done. But traditionally, there were many, many more girls than boys being born. And also, because of the culture that was stressed, there was a lot of stress on renunciation, especially the higher classes, especially the Brahminical class. So the boys were trained up like that, and they were trained up that if you can avoid getting married, then you can just devote yourself to Brahminical culture or spiritual life like that. So there was a scarcity of husbands. And in the Vedic culture, it was considered very important to have the ladies protected. Extremely important. Because as it's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is very concerned when he contemplates the possibility of all the men being killed in the battle of Kurukshetra, and there being no husbands for the ladies. And then you have all these unprotected ladies. Now you may say, why do the ladies need protection? It's an interesting point. And you see, because there's emotions, and the ladies can be exploited by unscrupulous men. So that's why the father would protect the daughter. In fact, we even have these instances, like with Devahuti. She was so much protected, she was on the roof of her palace, practically the only people who could take care of her were the other ladies, or I guess they had eunuchs also. And she was protected. One Gandharva saw her plane, she was so attractive, and he fell off of his airplane because he was so attracted to her beauty. But still, it's very, very important. And, we've actually seen sometimes, when a young girl gets very attached to someone who is completely unqualified, that attachment becomes so strong that, logic and reason don't work anymore, at least with that particular individual. So the girls had to be protected, and also, the men sometimes would they would use physical strength. So anyway, in any case, the girls, the ladies, they had to be protected in Vedic society. So this was also an arrangement so the ladies could be protected. So it's not something that's cruel. It was voluntary. The ladies loved serving the princess. There's so much love between the girls, and this was their society. And you see sometimes the ladies, they're very much interested in society, just like many times I'm trying to get devotees to move from Kari to here. And the men will tell me, I want to move, but why can't I move? Does anyone have an idea? Because my wife won't let me. Because all of her friends are here. I said, come to the temple, you know. No, our society are. So this provided the ladies with a wonderful sangha of friends. And they were happy. So. What's that? Yeah, but I tried it. It doesn't work. It really doesn't work because their friends are there. Social life is very important. And
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Marhamatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Kriya Vriti Manti Vasyan Dipan Kayanti Tiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami 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 Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Namaho Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Sammani Domante Cha, Name say Sha, Shunyavare, Achachava, days a turn and day. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Vrinda. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Hare, Rama Hare, Rama 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 Hare, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Looking on a brother, looking on a brother, looking on a brother, looking on a brother, now, Ratay. Jai Om Vishnu Pad.
Chaitodarpanam Arjanam Bhavamahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapitani Amita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Dordaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Charorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajragadisha Kame Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Vainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashim Vichintaya Nayanam Galadushu Daraya Varanam Gad Gaduradaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vabhukata Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishava Padamritam Banastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatatava Vidadatulam Pato Mat Pranatastu Saiva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna's Antan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Jai.